sir. We've done what you told us. We brought you the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West. We melted her.
Oh, you liquidated her, eh? Very resourceful.
Yes, sir. So we'd like you to keep your promise to us, if you please, sir.
Not so fast. Not so fast. I'll have to give the matter a little thought. Go away and come back tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Oh, but I want to go home now.
You've had plenty of time already.
Yeah. Do not arouse the wrath of the great and powerful Oz. I said come back tomorrow.
If you were really great and powerful, you'd keep your promises.
Do you presume to criticize the great Oz? You ungrateful creatures think yourselves lucky that I'm giving you audience tomorrow instead of 20 years from now.
Oh.
The great Oz has spoken.
Oh.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. The great Oz has spoken.
Who are you?
Oh, I am the great and powerful Wizard of Oz.
You are? I don't believe you.
No, I'm afraid it's true. There's no other wizard except me. You humbug! Yes, it's exactly so. I'm a humbug.
Oh, you're a very bad man.
Oh, no, my dear. I'm a very good man. I'm just a very bad wizard.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Hallo allemaal, daar zijn we er weer, RHTVLive. Hello to you all. We are back, RHTVLive. I see Robert Tucker is watching, right? And of course we have Lord Nexus watching. Good morning to you over there in the US. So, yeah, we're going to give geopolitics, of course. And there's a lot on table, right? So, of course, we're going to show Maastricht, where we are streaming live from, right? And which is in the south of the Netherlands, right? So, what's happening in and around this planet? Well, South Africa has put Israel in court, right? And that court is in The Hague, the Netherlands. We're going to show you some footage. So here we have South Africa, and here we have Israel. And South Africa is putting Israel in court because of the Gaza Strip intervention. And we're going to take a look at some images from The Hague. But first, we're going to show you where The Hague is, right? Den Haag. Yeah. Here we have The Hague. And we also have the so-called Peace Palace, right? Now, how can you be for peace when you support a war? Anyway, we're going to take a look at some images, some footage of what happened this morning in the Netherlands, in The Hague. Wait a minute. There we have it. So here we have the International Court, right, in The Hague, and we have someone presenting why Israel should be punished for what's happening in Gaza.
2004, Israel continues to exercise control over the airspace, territorial waters, land crossing, water, electricity, and civilian infrastructure, as well as over key government functions. Entry and exit by air and sea to Gaza is strictly prohibited, with Israel operating the only two crossing points. Given that continuing effective control by Israel and over the territory of Gaza, Israel is still considered by international community to be under belligerent occupation by Israel. South Africa unequivocally condemned the targeting of civilians by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups and the taking of hostages on the 7th of October 2023, and has again expressly recorded this condemnation, mostly recently in its note verbal to Israel on the 21st of December 2023. That said, no armed attack on a state territory, no matter how serious, even an attack involving atrocity crimes, can provide any justification for or defense to breaches to the convention, whether as a matter of law or morality. Israel's response to the 7th of October 2023 attack has crossed this line and give rise to the breaches of the convention. Faced with such evidence and our duty to do what we can do to prevent genocide, as contained in Article 1 of the convention, the South African government initiated this case. South Africa welcomes the fact that Israel has engaged with the case in order to have the matter resolved by the court, after careful and objective consideration of the facts and submission put before it, as the parties to the convention have intended. This hearing is concerned with South Africa's request to the court for the indication of provisional measures and will necessarily have a narrow and particular focus. I invoke the words of Martin Luther King when he said, "The arch of the moral of the universe is long, always bending towards justice." South Africa's case will be presented by a team of 6 legal counsels, comprising of Dr. Adila Asim, Mr. Tembeka Ngugaitobi, Professor John Dugat, Ms. Blim Licron, Mr. Max Dupris, and Professor Vagan Low.
Let's hope for justice, right? I'm not against Israel, if they want to live there, but leave the Palestinians alone. You have to share the land, right? Now, if one side is on the wrong, it's Israel. They're attacking southern Lebanon, attacking Hezbollah and Hamas, right? We showed you the clip where the negotiators of the hostages in Gaza, right? They're in South Lebanon, and they were assassinated. Now, how can you negotiate a hostage deal if you assassinate those people? So let's hope for justice. You have to share the land. It's not your land. It's not my land. You have to share the land, right? And the Palestinians are also people. Right now, there's a state of apartheid in Israel, in the West Bank, and other places within Israel. It's like, oh man, if you're a Palestinian, you got to go through gates and all that, cameras watching you, and you get patted down, right? So this is happening. There's even a park within Israel, right? And there used to be a Palestinian place there, some village or something, a couple of houses, and nope, you got to go. We're building a park here. So you have to share the land, and you Netanyahu, you will be punished. You will be punished. Maybe not in this reality, but after you die, right? We are here temporarily. So after you die, you will burn in hell for what you did.
Dr. Adila Asim, Senior Counsel, will provide an overview of the risk of genocidal acts in the perpetual vulnerability to acts of genocide. Mr. Tembeka Ngugaitobi, Senior Counsel, will examine Israel's alleged genocidal intent. Professor John Dugat, Senior Counsel, will focus on the prima facie jurisdiction. Professor Max Duplessis, Senior Counsel, will discuss the various rights currently under threat. Blinny Crowell, King's Counsel, will present the argument of agency and potential irreparable harm.
We started off with the man behind the curtain, right? The Wizard of Oz. Now, the man behind the curtain for Israel is the U.S., right? They're supplying the weapons, they're supplying the money and all that, you know? Without the U.S., Israel would be wiped off the map. So you have this presidential candidate, right, Nikki Haley, who says, we need Israel, right? No, you don't. No, you don't. I'm on the stance of Vivek, right? Vivek says, you know, it's their problem. They have to solve it. We paid enough blood and money and whatever else to those foreign countries. And I agree with him. You know, the U.S. empire is falling apart. It's not Pax Americana anymore. You know, there are more players on the field, right? So this is 3 hours long. I'll spare you the 3 hours, but we will see some other people talking, like this woman here. Wait, there we go.
Some, in order to illustrate the pattern of genocidal conduct. The UN statistics that are relied upon are up to date as of 9 January 2024. In South Africa's oral submissions, we will illustrate the facts that we rely on with limited use of audiovisual material. Madam President, we do so with restraint and only where necessary, and always with respect to the Palestinian people. Against this background, I move now to demonstrate, in turn, how Israel's conduct violates Articles 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D of the Convention. The first genocidal act committed by Israel is the mass killing of Palestinians in Gaza, in violation of Article 2A of the Genocide Convention. As the UN Secretary General explained 5 weeks ago, the level of Israel's killing is so extensive that nowhere is safe in Gaza.
I believe 23,000 Palestinians have died during this intervention, right? 23,000. You know, it's amazing. 23.000 mensen zijn doodgegaan in de Gazastrook. Dat zijn toch cijfers waarbij je toch eventjes na moet denken. 23,000 people. Men, women, children. A bomb doesn't distinguish who you are, you know. So, 23,000 people. Yet we celebrate Christmas and we celebrate the New Year as if nothing is happening, right? People don't really care. You know, it's like, well, whatever, it's happening there, yeah, not happening here. But what happens there can also happen here. That's something to think about. Now, I was also looking at Twitter, and I found a very interesting clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene confronting Hunter Biden. Now, yeah, we're going to take a look at this here. We're going to enlarge the, oh, no, wrong one. There we go. We're going to see what Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to say to Hunter Biden.
Ms. Green from Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently, you're afraid of my words.
Whoa! Here goes. Oh.
I'd like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman.
Kind of burst their bubble. Wow, that's too bad.
I think it's clear and obvious for everyone watching this hearing today that Hunter Biden is terrified of strong conservative Republican women because he can't even face my words as I was about to speak to him. What a coward.
Ms. Green from Georgia.
What a coward indeed. Looks like his father, right? You know, it's amazing. It really is amazing. So that's going on over there in the U.S. It's like, oh my God, man. Really amazing. But if we look at Belarus, for example, you have an ex-Ukrainian politician in Belarus saying something about Biden. Now, let's take a look at this here. Oh, RT, oh, Russia Today. I don't care, right? This is information. So.
Territory, but it's people. And what do we see there today? No human rights. Men are not allowed to leave the country. The question is that women might no longer be released.
He's talking about Ukraine at this moment.
Today, Ukraine is a concentration camp that is moving towards Europe. Without freedom of speech, without human rights, without freedom of religion. Who is to blame for this? Biden, Nuland, Blinken, the deep state, Zelensky, Poroshenko, and the rest of this organized crime group. The largest cash bribe in Europe happened in 2020, transmitted for closing the Burisma case. After a period of time, the Nord Stream pipeline exploded. Dugina, Tatarsky were assassinated. A death attempt was made on Prilepin. The heads of the Ukrainian special services do not hide that they are carrying out political assassination and terrorist acts for off-budget cash.
Well, let's get more on this story now and cross live to RT's correspondent Marina Kosareva. Marina, thanks very much for joining us in the studio. Can you just tell us more about these revelations that are being made by Derkak?
Yes, well, this is the first time we hear about any assassination attempts on people who were trying and have been trying for years to expose Joe Biden's links in Ukraine. And again, this...
The first time? Really? Really? You know what happened with the Minsk Accord, right? That was a de-weaponization of the Donbass, right? No more weapons. Ukraine attacked Crimea. And one of the negotiators of the Minsk Accord was in Crimea and was killed. I believe Russia Today gave that news. This is how I know it.
This is the first time we hear that there was an attempt made, or at least it was being planned, on this Ukrainian lawmaker. And this Ukrainian lawmaker actually provides a lot of documents to support his claims, including court decisions, financial wirings. We'll get into that in a minute. But just to remind our viewers what this case is all about, it all stems from the scandal resulting from this natural gas company in Ukraine called Burisma. Why was there a problem with this company? Well, that's because it employed Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, and this was during the...
Oh, we remember that. Yeah, we really remember that. We're going to show you Joe Biden bragging about Ukraine, right? About there was a prosecutor in Ukraine looking at Burisma Holdings, and that prosecutor was a bit, a thorn in the side, right? So you have to erase that thorn, and yeah, very, very interesting stuff. We're digging deeper.
Time when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, and he was also pretty much put in charge of Ukraine after the coup there, and he would travel there dozens of times in just the space of 2 years, so from 2014 right after the coup up until 2016. So he was there lots of times. And what was the problem? This company, Burisma, the man who founded it, Nikolai Zlochevsky, he was under investigation for tax fraud, tax evasion, money laundering, and corruption. So, of course, this did not look good for Biden, considering the fact that his own son was on the board of directors, and he was reportedly making around $100,000 per month. So, very...
$100,000 per month. Now, that guy that you just saw, that businessman, member of parliament, Andrei Derkach, or something like that. Here we have him, Andrei Leonidovich Derkach, born 19 August 1967, is a Russian and former Ukrainian politician and businessman who had been a member of the Berikova Rada from 1988 to January 2020, serving 7 terms with several parties, and was stripped of Ukrainian citizenship. So that was the guy that you just saw, right? Talking about the Bidens. Now, let's take a look at Joe Biden bragging about Ukraine, getting rid of the prosecutor that wanted to prosecute Burisma Holdings.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Someone who was solid, right? Someone who looked the other way. And there he is, right? Sitting there as ex-vice president at the Council on Foreign Relations, right? A lobby group. And he's basically bragging about his 14th or 15th trip, who knows, in Ukraine. You know, it's amazing. It really is amazing. And this turd here is your president. You know, this old fart. Joe, you gotta go. And not to, not to your own home or in the insane asylum. No, you got to go to jail, right? That's where you got to go to. You've been investing in Ukraine, firing prosecutors and stuff like that, making it a corrupt state where Ukrainian businessmen go to a neighboring country, Belarus, right? And we're going to put that on the map. Let's see, there. We're going to fly over to Belarus. So, Germany, big farmer protest still going on in Germany. We have Poland. There's also news about Poland. We're going to get to that. Here we have Belarus. And if we zoom out some more, you see it's a neighboring country of Ukraine. Belarus is part of the Russian Federation, right? Now, way back when, in 2010, I believe, hey, that rhymes, there was a Polish cabinet that went to Moscow and crash landed near Moscow, and the whole cabinet was gone. Now, after that happened, you had a couple of days of mourning and this and that. A new cabinet was installed, right? And that cabinet was a pro-EU cabinet. You know, dirty games are being played here. You know, so it's very, very suspicious, put it that way, that you have a Polish cabinet that is for Russia, right, for the Russian Federation, and then they have a plane crash. I believe it was 2010. We're going to look it up. Polish cabinet plane crash. So, Smolensk air disaster is known as the Smolensk air disaster. We're going to put that on screen. Wait 1 second. There, Smolensk air disaster. And yes, it was 2010. My memory serves me correctly, right? So the new cabinet was supposed to investigate this, but nope, they didn't. They didn't. Isn't that weird, huh? So you have a country such as Poland, also in a battle between East and West, right? Should we choose the EU or should we choose the Russian Federation? Well, you had a cabinet that was for the Russian Federation and they crashed, right? So dirty games are being played here, and we still don't know what really happened that day, and we still don't know what really happened during the pipeline disaster, right? The Nord Stream pipeline number 1 and 2 were blown up, and we still don't know what really happened. We do have Seymour Hersh saying America did it, and America says Ukraine did it. So according to that story, we are supporting a country that is basically sabotaging European gas flow, right, and stuff like that. So that story stinks, even if it's true or not. You know, that is the question, but it stinks. It stinks. We give money and supplies and stuff like that. You know, it's amazing. It really is amazing. I mean, come on. We're supposed to be the peaceful country within Europe, right? No, we're not. We're not. We're supporting jihadis and Nazis and stuff like that. Yeah, we also supported the jihadis. You know, I show that frequently on RHTVLive. So let's take a look at the jihadis we supported. Nederland gaf steun aan jihadisten in Syrië. Netherlands supported jihadis in Syria. Nederland heeft in Syrië een jihadistische beweging gesteund. Dat blijkt uit onderzoek van Nieuwsuur en Trouw. Het gaat om Debat al-Shamia. This is the proxy that we supported, Debat al-Shamia. And our own Justice Department says it's a criminal organization with terroristic tendencies, put it that way. So between May 2015 and 2018, it's 3 years, Netherlands supported 22 gewapende, gematigde groepen, groups that were armed or not armed, and in Syria. They did not get any weapons, but they did get, for 25 million euros, 313 cars, food, medication, communication devices, tents, uniforms, and they were also trained, right? So this is how we destabilized Syria. And a lot of Syrians come to the Netherlands to, you know, to find a peaceful life. But our government is very, very corrupt. Yeah. One of the most corrupt countries within the European Union, if you don't count Ukraine or Moldova, which is also a corrupt country. But they're not in the EU yet. So, but they are part of the European continent. There's enough to talk about, right? Let's see what else we got on the map. Oh yeah, Sweden. Sweden is preparing for something. Now, what that entails, Paul Joseph Watson will explain. Let's see. Here we have Paul Joseph Watson reporting from England, the totalitarian state. But yeah, we're going to take a look at this here.
The government has sent an ominous warning to its own citizens that they should immediately prepare themselves for the prospect of war. Not in some far-flung foreign country, but within Sweden itself. itself. The Scandinavian country's civil defence minister and their commander-in-chief have sounded a drastic alarm bell that the country is ill-equipped to deal with what could be right around the corner. Many have said it before me, but let me say it with the full force of my office. There could be a war in Sweden, said Carl Oskar Bolin, asserting that the modernisation of the Swedish civil defence force was not happening anywhere near fast enough. Bolin added, such an effort can only be made quickly enough if the vast majority of people are aware of the situation and understand what is at stake. Swedish Commander-in-Chief Michael Biden echoed Bolin's dire rhetoric. On an individual level, you have to prepare yourself mentally, Biden said, adding this is a very serious situation and the clarity yesterday was unmistakable. It is now about moving from words and understanding to action. Why would there be a war in Sweden? According to them, because the country is about to join NATO this year. And the same fate could befall them as it did Ukraine. Russia invading a NATO member state, automatically triggering a massive response from the biggest military powers in the Western world, virtually guaranteeing World War III. Really? Is Putin that stupid? Wouldn't he just be ensuring the obliteration of his own country? Let's just hope Sweden doesn't have any undersea energy pipelines that mysteriously get blown up in the near future. The Swedish government is incredibly paranoid about being invaded, and yet many would argue that Sweden has already been invaded and faces a far greater threat than the minuscule likelihood of a Russian incursion from the millions of unintegrated migrants who have entered the country over the last 20 years, during which period, just by coincidence, Sweden went from being the safest country in Europe to being the second most dangerous. Gang violence is now such a chronic issue in Sweden. The Swedish Prime Minister has called on the army to perform law enforcement duties. Grenade attacks and riots have become commonplace, while violent crime and sexual assaults have skyrocketed. A new study finds that non-Europeans commit 84% of serious violent rapes in Sweden. For example, Algerians are over 500 times more likely to commit a violent rape than a native. Christensen himself blamed the unsuccessful integration of the millions of migrants who have poured into the country for the disorder and criminality. If I was Swedish, I'd be more worried about the people the political establishment has already allowed to invade, rather than the altogether more nebulous prospect of seeing Russian troops at the door.
Are we still here? Zijn we er nog? Something went wrong there. So, even kijken of we er nog zijn. Zo. Zo. Ah ja, we zijn er nog. Ja, iets ging mis. Maar goed, we're still here. Yeah, so we have that going on. Let's see what's happening in Poland if we go back to Poland. Two Polish lawmakers arrested at presidential palace. Yeah. So we're going to take a look at this here. Two lawmakers arrested at presidential palace, and we're going to take a look at one of these clips here. This one here.
What exactly happened is yesterday we've seen for a couple of days the situation was that these two former officials, or the officials of the former ruling party, were actually were convicted by the court in Warsaw for the abuse of power over a situation or a sting operation that actually happened way back in late 2000. And what happened is that even though the court order was issued and was issued to arrest them, they were still at large, and the police actually showed up in their homes yesterday to take them to prison. In the meantime, what happened was that these two gentlemen were already in the presidential palace, taking a photo up with the president, and later were told by the president they can stay at the palace. And when the president wasn't there, he was meeting with officials outside the palace. The police moved in and actually arrested them. So what's going on is obviously it's quite bizarre, but what it tells us, or the story actually illustrates, that this is a situation where we have a new government that just is in power for less than a month right now. The government of former European Council President Donald Tusk, and this government was elected on this ticket of reversing judicial changes of the former nationalist administration, and they want to make peace with the EU and unblock EU funds. In the meantime,
so Donald Tusk came from the EU, right? He was in Brussels for a couple of odd years, and now he is Prime Minister of Poland, cleaning out the opposition. Right? This is what's happening. You know, we also have the Trump civil fraud trial. There's also something to look at. But this is what's happening, right? So the pro-Europeans within Poland lost power to the nationalists, right? They wanted to preserve Poland and say that Brussels does not decide for Poland in the judicial branch, right? And those two people are gone. Now, they're in jail, but, you know, it's basically opposition that Donald Tusk put in jail. So, you know, it's really amazing. It really, really is amazing. So we see Poland becoming more authoritarian, right? We also have the AfD in Germany, and which is also a right-wing leaning party. And, you know, in Germany, it was also spoken to ostracize the AfD, right? And stuff like that, you know. And seeing that this is happening in Poland, it also could happen in Germany. It also could happen in the Netherlands. It is happening in the Netherlands. Well, we have Gideon van Meijeren, right, from the FVD, who is put on trial because he had said something in the likes of you're allowed to protest peacefully, and the judicial department says you said something else. You said you called for violence and this and that. So it's very interesting to see that everywhere you look, the opposition is being cleaned out, right? We're going to show Gideon van Meijeren. Here we have him in front of the judge because he had said something.
Gebeurd. Correct. Ja. De vervolging van een politicus is allerminst een alledaagse aangelegenheid. Daarom hecht het Openbaar Ministerie eraan op deze regiezitting de vervolgingsbeslissing toe te lichten en daarnaast enkele woorden te wijden aan hoe het OM kijkt naar het vervolg van de behandeling van deze strafzaak. Verdachte wordt vervolgd voor 2 gevallen van opruiing. Een opruiing is het aansporen tot strafbare feiten. Het beïnvloeden van anderen dat het plegen van strafbare feiten wenselijk of noodzakelijk is. Ook beïnvloeding op indirecte wijze kan opruiend zijn, namelijk als met bepaalde uitingen wordt beoogd de geesten rijp te maken voor strafbaar handelen. Bij de beoordeling of sprake is van een opruiend karakter van uitingen, moeten de inhoud en strekking van deze uitingen in hun samenhang worden bezien en moet worden gelet op de context waarin deze uitlatingen zijn gedaan.
So the Justice Department is basically saying that what you said is can be dangerous for the population because it can bring people to ideas and stuff like that. That's far stretched, you know. It's like, whoa, what the hell? And the Justice Department says, well, it's very rare that a politician comes to court, but actually it's not, because we also have Geert Wilders, who basically won the elections, and he also was dragged to court because he had said something. He asked a question, do you want more or less Moroccans? And, you know, the audience said we want less. And this is why he was put on trial for 6 years, right? Political parties came together with the Justice Department to find a claim to put him in court, right? It's lawfare. It's also happening in the Netherlands. So.
Van de rechtbank, mevrouw de officier. Heel veel dank dat ik hier vandaag het woord mag voeren. Het is voor mij een belangrijke dag. Want helaas bestaat een groot deel van mijn leven uit doodsbedreigingen die ik, u zei het zelf net al, vele jaren zo ongeveer dagelijks krijg. En waardoor ik moet leven in onvrijheid. Ik sta al een hele tijd op dodenlijsten van clubs als de Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS. En ook met de inmiddels niet meer bestaande Hofstadgroep had het op mij gemunt.
So many groups are after Wilders because he's anti-Islam, right? He does not like the Islam and stuff like that. And, you know, many groups are after him. There was even a reward for his head, right? So, and now he is one of the biggest parties within the new coalition, right, that is still forming. So there you have that. We see that in Poland, people were arrested, right? It could also happen here in the Netherlands. It could also happen in the US. I mean, Trump is on trial, right? So let's take a look at that. Let's see if we can find it here. No, it's not that one. Trump hearing. Trump trial. Trial. There we go. No. No Trump to see here. Just some fat cop and an old guy and another old guy. And some cop here. Oh well. This is what we get to see. This is what you get to see, America. You know, no cameras in court, no outside of court, right? This is what you get to see. This is your tax dollars at work. It's amazing, really is amazing. So you have Hunter Biden evading the law, right? And stuff like that, you know, and Trump is put on trial, really? What a world, man, what a world. I don't think that, Trump was highly involved in Ukraine, for example. He didn't fire a prosecutor, you know. And Biden doesn't even have the power to do so. Well, he has the money, but not the power, right? So the people in Ukraine are also cowards. The people in power, at least.
Yeah. One of the things that I think I've noticed just in traveling so
Here we have Candace Owens.
There does seem to be this sort of
with
mental
Vivek
block where
Ramaswamy.
people understand, you know, Russian Pravda, we understand propaganda as it pertains to other countries, but we don't understand that it's also operating in this country as well. We're not unique to this. There is state-run media, and they exist to advance state causes.
Which makes me wonder, with the way you phrase that, Candace, I wonder if the people in those countries, I wonder the way they see it.
They see it as
the U.S. has a propaganda machine. Like if you're like in Russia right now or whatever, the U.S. has a propaganda machine, but I'm getting the truth.
That is how it exists.
And I suppose if they view it that way, that might be eye-opening for us to be wondering whether we're actually falling into that same trap and trick.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
This is why RHTVLive is here, showing both sides of the story.
Over these last 4 years even, that people are now waking up to the fact that the media just simply can't be trusted, and they're asking deeper questions.
That's right.
How long have we not been able to trust the media? How long have I been asleep?
I think it's a very long time.
A very long time.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to, just go back to the Iraq War, go back to the truth of what the media has said or not about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11. And that's just getting to the points where you and I have been in our adult life. How much further back you go, I think probably the same story's been true for as long as this political media has existed, or when William Randolph Hearst or whatever that was back in the early part of the last century. And so, yeah, in the same way that like we think we're so different from people in like Russia who are being duped by their state media, well, I think that we're being duped by our quasi-state media here. Same thing, we think that it's unique to right now. It actually probably isn't. It's probably been around.
You guys are being duped, right? You know, it's amazing that you don't see anything in American media about Biden involvement in Ukraine, right? You don't see anything about that, you know? And there's so much to tell. Let's take a look at a famous quote from Edward Bernays, which is the grandfather of propaganda, which was used during the First World War. Let's see what he has to say about propaganda being used, right? We also show this quite a lot. Here we have Edward Bernays, the grandfather of propaganda, and we're going to take a look at what is being said here. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organized. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind, right? So it's basically the man behind the curtain, as we started out this broadcast. So I think I've said enough for now. We will be back tomorrow giving new insights on a new day. We will leave you with Natasha Maeve, of course. Well, we watch this first.
The same way for a century, too. And if anything, we have a free and open internet, at least, which probably is something that checks that media more than existed.
Which is why they wanted it gone.
That is why they want us gone, right? That is why RHTVLive is shadow banned. That is why Robert Tucker cannot stream live anymore, you know, because he cannot keep his mouth shut. I mean this positive, right? So, you know, we are being censored. Yeah, we are politically awake. Remember what Zbigniew Brzezinski said about the politically awake masses, right? There we go.
That for the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
Now, this is the guy who made the Mujahideen, right? Which the offspring of that is the Taliban, because it fell apart. You have the Taliban, the Northern Alliance, and Al-Qaeda, right, operating within Afghanistan after the Mujahideen fell apart, right? Now, who did 9/11? Wasn't that Al-Qaeda, right? So there's an X-Files episode about that. Let's see if we can find that before we close down. X-Files, 9/11. episode. There, no. Anyway, it was predicted on the X-Files. We've shown it a couple of times, but not on this broadcast. Let's see if we can find it here. I believe it was the pilot of the Lone Gunman. 9/11. No? Oh well. Maybe. Newscast before terror attacks. Never mind. You guys can search it for yourself. So, we have Natasha Maeve, and we are going to close down the broadcast after this.
My music sets me free, it's therapy. I hope it helps a few people other than me. I noticed many liked it better when I was angry. Took off, nowhere to be seen on my journey. Funny how that works, start to feel better. And the people who claim to love me start to feel worse. So well, I know my real worth. I will continue to heal with each verse. That's my life path, truly breaking free. And some of them don't like that, don't even know what I've been through. Had to get my life back, some of them gave up. Well, me, I had to strike back and fight back. Now I'm feeling lighter, though I'm still breathing fire. Yeah, the dragon, I fly high. Open up my eye, life's like a sci-fi. Won't stop me from going sky high to the realm of self-love. The feeling of healing, revealing my beauty within. Stay focused, no stress. Every time I learn, I know less. It's a slow step, I'm enjoying the walk. It's not a race. Can't see the view when it's too fast and blurry. I like to be slow, no hurry. Must be a witch, cause they burn me. Green, I work with what's earthly, you can't hurt me.
You take the blue pill, story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland.
My life path, truly breaking free. And some of them don't like that, don't even know what I've been through. Had to get my life back, some of them gave up. Well, me, I had to strike back and fight back. Now I'm feeling lighter, though I'm still breathing fire. Yeah, the dragon, I fly high. Open up my eye, life's like a sci-fi. Won't stop me from going sky high. My music sets me free, it's therapy. I hope it helps a few people other than me. I noticed many liked it better when I was angry. Took off, nowhere to be seen on my journey. Funny how that works, start to feel better. And the people who claim to love me start to feel worse. So well, I know my real worth. I will continue to heal with each verse. And I know who really loves me out there. Thank you, I love you too. Keep fighting, keep shining light. Don't give up, don't let the demons win.
You have to let it all go. Fear, doubt, disbelief.
Free your mind, indeed. And yeah, I said we close off, right? But I was kind of searching for that clip because it sticks in your mind, right? And we had found it. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. The whole episode, the Lone Gunman pilot episode, 9/11 predictive programming. Now let's take a look at what's being said here.
What the hell are you doing? Why can't you stay out of this? Leave me buried.
What is scenario 12D? We know it's a war game scenario, that it has to do with airline counterterrorism. Why is that important enough to kill for?
Because it's no longer a game.
If some terrorist group wants to act out this scenario, why target you for assassination?
Depends on who your terrorists are.
The men who conceived of it in the first place. You're saying our government plans to commit a terrorist act against a domestic airline?
There you go. Indicting the entire government as usual. It's a faction. A small faction.
For what possible gain?
The Cold War's over, John. But with no clear enemy to stockpile against, the arms market's flat. But bring down a fully loaded 727 into the middle of New York City, and you'll find a dozen tin pot dictators all over the world just clamoring to take responsibility and begging to be smart-bombed.
I can't believe it. This is about increasing arms sales.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's about arms sales, right? So there are people dying, yet there are people making money out of death. These people are monsters. I do not want to live in a world where there's war there and there and there, and everywhere I look, there's war. There are people starving, people suffering from war. And my country is being invaded by all these refugees. I do understand that you try to seek, a safe shelter, but Netherlands is also not safe. Sad to say. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow giving you the news, geopolitics, and stuff like that. So we'll see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye. See you next time.